Am I the a-hole for telling my roommate it's his fault he doesn't get laid? I have been living with my roommate Simon for about a year. I'm not in a relationship, but I occasionally bring one-night stands into our flat, which Simon explicitly told me he was okay with when we moved in together. That being said, I try not to bother him with excessive noises and any intimate activity is limited to my bedroom only, but I don't make a secret of having someone over, e.g. I offer breakfast the next morning and sometimes, Simon is already awake by the time the person leaves. Just recently, Simon has started becoming increasingly hostile towards me whenever I have someone over. He is incredibly rude and condescending to any person I hook up with and has barged into my room in the morning, demanding I help him with something, causing my aunts to leave in a hurry. When I asked whether something was bothering him, he told me that he was fed up with guys like me stealing girls from guys like him. I asked what he meant by that and he said that it's always players who get all the girls and he is left with nothing. He tends to stay home on the weekends and whenever he meets up with someone, it's usually to play video games with one of his friends, so I think it's fair to say he isn't really trying to meet new people. I offered that he could come with me the next time I go if he wanted to get in contact with someone, but he turned down the idea because nice, shy guys like him don't have a chance with girls anyway. I asked how exactly he expects to meet someone if he never goes out. He works remotely, never really leaves our flat apart from shopping and as far as I know, doesn't do online dating. He got defensive and told me that he didn't want one of the sluts I was picking up at the club anyway, and that he wanted a girl who preferred staying at home, so he wouldn't find one in a bar either way. I told him that he should stop blaming other people for his inability to find a date. When he is not giving anyone the opportunity to even meet him and that he can't expect women to randomly find him and ask him out, when there is no way for anyone to know he even exists. He called me an op because it's easy for me to make assumptions and that it's always F-boys who pretend dating is so easy when they're the ones preventing the good guys from having a chance with girls.
Doctors, what's your most awkward experience with someone of the opposite gender? I'm a nurse practitioner, and one day at the hospital, the attending doctor tells me to go examine a patient, her chief complaint being that she was beaten up by her boyfriend. So I go into the waiting room to see a very tall, attractive blonde sitting there crying. I sat down next to her, patting her on the back and comforting her. After she calmed down a bit, I do the usual background check and explain to her that I have to examine her from top to bottom in order to document all the injuries. She sniffles and says okay, so I proceeded with my examination. I first documented all of her visible injuries, and all was going well. That was until I had to look into her clothes to examine. This part is always a little awkward, but I really didn't expect what happened next. I started from top to bottom looking around her chest area. Okay. Then her back. Okay. Still all good after looking at her abdomen. Then I had her pull her pants down. Bam. Penis. I did not see it coming at all, as she had breasts and everything. I think my shocked expression for a split second caught her off guard, as she says, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry, I forgot to tell you I'm transsexual." And all I'm thinking is, yeah, I figured it out.
I pressed my daughter's teachers for not calling her the proper name. My daughter, Alexandra, hates any shortened version of her name. This has gone on since she was about 10. The family respects it and she's pretty good about advocating for herself should someone call her Lexi, Alex, etc. She also hates when people get her name wrong and just wants to be called Alexandra. She took Spanish in middle school. The teacher wanted to call all students by the Spanish version of their name, provided there was one. So, she tried to call Alexandra, Alejandra. Alexandra corrected her and the teacher respected it. She had the same teacher all 3 years of middle school, so it wasn't an issue. Now, she's in high school and is still taking Spanish. Once again, the new teacher announced if a student had a Spanish version of their name, she'd call them that. So, she called Alexandra, Alejandra. Alexandra corrected her but the teacher ignored her. My daughter came home upset after the second week. I am not the type of mom to write emails, but I felt I had to in this case. If matters, this teacher is not Hispanic herself, so this isn't a pronunciation issue. Her argument is if these kids ever went to a Spanish-speaking country, they'd be called by that name. I found this excuse a little weak as the middle school Spanish teacher actually was Hispanic who had come here from a Spanish-speaking country and she respected Alexandra's wishes. The teacher tried to dig her heels in, but I said if it wasn't that big a deal in her eyes that she calls her Alejandra, why is it such a big deal to just call her Alexandra? Eventually, she gave in. Alexandra confirmed that her teacher is calling her by her proper name. My husband feels I blew this out of proportion and Alexandra could have sucked it up for a year. The school has 3 different Spanish teachers, so odds are she could get another one her sophomore year.
I surprised my girlfriend with Taylor Swift tickets. She wanted to bring her friend instead. Me and my girlfriend have been dating for 3 years now. My girlfriend is a huge Taylor Swift fan and was really excited when she found out Taylor would be performing at MetLife Stadium, right near us. So I decided to surprise her with Taylor's concert tickets, knowing she really wanted to go. I called in sick the day the tickets dropped and waited in the Ticketmaster queue for 2 hours. Finally, when it opened up, I bought 2 seats for $400 each. One for her and one for me. When she came back from work that night, I surprised her with the tickets, and she was ecstatic. However, when I said I was really excited as well, she got very confused, as she thought the 2 tickets were for her and her best friend, who is also a big Taylor Swift fan. I was very disappointed, since I believed that this was an experience that we could do together, and it would be something we would remember for the rest of our lives. Though she said that her best friend was a really big Taylor Swift fan and would enjoy it more than me. So I just told her she should go with whoever she wants to go with more. and not to go with me just because it was what I had planned. After hearing this, my girlfriend immediately called her friend and told her they were going to the Taylor Swift concert together. While my girlfriend and her friend went together and both had a great time, I felt betrayed since she chose her over me. While I knew my girlfriend's best friend is a much bigger Taylor Swift fan than me, I was too excited to go since I've never been to a concert before, and I'd like to listen to some of Taylor Swift's songs. Should I have done things differently and not given up my ticket so willingly?
I turned down my stepdad's offer to walk me down the aisle. I have chosen to walk down the aisle alone on my wedding day. The decision was made for two reasons. My dad died when I was 7 and he would be my number one choice if he were alive, but he's not, and 2, my mom has made it perfectly clear that she would find it disrespectful to my stepdad if she walked me down the aisle and so would not do it. Given that both my parents are out and I don't want to ask my paternal grandparents to do too much, my grandma and I are already sharing a special dance. Walking alone is what I feel the most comfortable doing. I could ask my stepdad, and even when I contemplated my decision, I knew he would want to do it. But it would make me sad to have him walk me instead of my dad if I'm honest. I think my stepdad is a good man and he has tried his very best to be a dad for me. But I didn't want a dad when I lost mine. I wanted my dad. Nobody else was ever going to be able to fill that role in my heart. I asked my mom and stepdad if they would like to do a joint toast or 2 separate ones, and whether they would like to walk down the aisle/dance to specific songs. While discussing this, my stepdad asked who I would be walking with, and I told him I was walking alone. He offered to do it and I said it was a lovely offer, but I would walk alone. He pressed me on why and I said it felt like the best option. He said it would mean the world to him if he could do it, if just he could feel like he's a real dad and not just second place to my dad. I told him I understood, but it was not an option on the table. He said he was already being shamed by having to watch me dance with my grandma when it should be a father/daughter dance. But to have everyone watch me walk alone when they know I have a stepdad is going to send a very big message. I know people will ask about details on our relationship, etc. I met my stepdad when I was 9 and he married my mom when I was 10. He offered to adopt me and give me his last name, and I turned him down 5 times in the 8 years I lived with him. He was married before my mom and he lost his wife and unborn baby in an accident. He was also made sterile by the same accident. He always longed to be a dad. We got along well, but our relationship was always more to him than it was to me. When he sees a daughter and wants a daughter, I see a good man and someone who is a great spouse to my mom and is good to me, but does not fill the father role he wants emotionally for me. Physically, he did. But emotionally I never felt like he was my dad, and everyone in our lives is aware that I feel as though I have one dad and my stepdad is my stepdad. My mom and stepdad are not paying or contributing to the wedding in any way. My fiancé and I both have savings and we're putting those into the wedding. Though our wedding will be smallish since we want to prioritize other things. My mom and stepdad say I am rude and heartless for turning down the offer.
Teachers, what's the best smart-ass response from a student you've heard? I'm a 12th grade English teacher, and one year I had this kid who was a little bit on the spectrum and a stereotypical mean girl in the same class. Ava, the mean girl, would always try to have everyone's attention on her in class, always making comments such as, "Ugh, this class is way too easy," and "Can we just watch a movie in class today, please?" She would also make fun of Conrad, the kid on the spectrum, to get laughs from the other boys in the class. She would specifically make fun of Conrad's hair, as he had this massive afro. One day at the end of the school year, I decided for the class we'd look through the yearbook because we didn't have any more assignments for the rest of the year. I had it presented on the smartboard, and as we're looking through it, we got to the senior superlative section of the yearbook. As we're going through them, we got to the award for the craziest hair, and the winner was Conrad. He sat right in the front of the class and was getting all excited for winning. Then Ava, who sat right behind him, threw an eraser onto his hair, and it landed right on top of his afro without Conrad noticing. The whole class started snickering, and I could tell Ava was proud of herself. I told her to please remove it, and she begrudgingly said, "Ugh, fine." I flipped to the next award, and it was Ava, as most schools spirited. Our school mascot is the Eagles, so as soon as I flipped to the page, Conrad said, "Yeah, because her legs are always spread eagle."
What is your most shameful climax? Super horny 13-year-olds in the early 90s, I didn't have a phone, so I had no access to porn. We lived in a 2-story house, and the neighbor behind us was in a 1-story house. Single mother with 2 kids. Boy and girl. The boy and I became friends, and I met his mom a couple times. What they didn't know was that I kept spying on them. They had no blinds or curtains in the kitchen, dining room, and bathroom. The bathroom windows were frosted, but you could make out shapes, and it was obvious when their mom was in there because of her height and figure. So seeing the bathroom light come on and seeing her figure disrobe was an instant hard-on for a 13-year-old. One Saturday night I go to my room. I lay down and spy on the house. My buddy said that he and his sister were going to their dance for the weekend, so their mom will be alone. In my horny mind, I thought this would be a weekend of her walking around naked. So far, disappointed. I spy in the dim dining room some action. I watch what I think is some aggressive fucking in the dining room. I start beating my shit. I think it's about time the neighbor mom gets some action. And about time that I watch. watch. Keep in mind that I've not yet actually seen porn, and not actually seen anyone have sex, so it should be of no surprise to learn that what I had seen wasn't the MILF getting plowed on her dining room table, but a houseplant being blown around by a fan. Her kids went away because it was warm and her AC went out, so they turned on fans in the house. I had jacked off and climaxed to a houseplant.
What's the saddest thing you've ever witnessed? In first grade, my daughter was being bullied on the bus by some a-hole kids. At the time, her class had a project where they grew a small plant in her class that they would present to their mothers for Mother's Day. She told me about it, but asked me to keep it a secret from Mom. I agreed. Every day she would come home and tell me when the plant sprouted, and she was so excited as it grew and grew. As Mother's Day rolled around, she would ask me over and over again if I thought Mom would love it. I always reassured her that yes, her mom would absolutely love it, because she's worked so hard to take care of it and help it grow, just like she had done with you. Mother's Day rolls around, and even I'm excited to see the plant. I happen to be home from work that day, and she comes home looking extremely sad. I asked her what was wrong, and I could tell she was on the verge of tears. She reached out her small hand and held out half a broke styrofoam cup with some dirt in it. The cup had been crushed, and how that the words "I love you, Mommy" were written on what was left. The dam broke as she said "Happy Mother's Day, Mama," and she crumpled to the ground bawling. My daughter, so proud of her plant, decided to show the other kids on her way home the gift she was going to give to her mom. A boy promptly snatched it out of her hands and threw it to the ground. Everyone laughed as he stomped on it, and then grabbed the plant and threw it out the window. She was 6 years old, and it killed me to realize how cruel people could be for the first time.
When has someone challenged you at something you're an expert at without them knowing it? One day after work, I was at the gym and I saw this very fit older African-American guy biking on a stationary bike. There was also this guy who was wandering around, not really working out, just talking to everybody, mostly girls, offering advice and chit-chatting. It seemed like a lot of girls were getting annoyed at him and trying to avoid him. But anyways, he goes up to this guy on the bike and I happened to overhear their conversation. It went something like this. "Damn, you're pretty fit for an older dude. What are you training for?" "Ultra triathlon in a few weeks," which is a 6.2-mile swim, a 261.4-mile bike, and a 52.4-mile run. Annoying guy seems impressed and jokingly asks, "Will you win?" "Probably." "Always gotta believe in yourself, right?" "Well, I've won my last 3 ultra triathlons and the closest person was 20 miles behind me, so yeah, I believe in myself." "Yeah, alright, good luck. Why don't you get back to work, pal?" The annoying guy kinda grunted and walked away to get back to disturbing other gym girls. I ended up looking at the sign-up sheet for the gym to check the guy's name out, and sure enough, he had multiple records for ultra triathlons. But on top of that, he's completed multiple ultra marathons, which are 100-mile races, is an ex-Navy SEAL, and had the record for the most pull-ups done in 24 hours. This guy was an insane athlete, just biking casually at a gym in San Francisco.
One of you completely misread a girl's signal. I thought she was taking into the bathroom to have sex. I was very wrong. When I was in college, I was at a house party and met this girl. We played Pong together and kept winning. We were having a blast and ended the night with no one beating us. I thought she was pretty cute, so I gestured her over to the couch to drink and talk a bit more. We drank and talked and drank and talked, then started kissing, tones and all. I could tell she was feeling me. Or at least I thought. She did ask me to come to the bathroom with her. I said, of course. She took me by the hand and led me away. I went in first and she shut the door behind us and locked it. I was certain things were about to go to the next level, but to my surprise, she unzipped her pants and sat down on the toilet. I just assumed she had to pee real quick, so I looked away. Then she grunted. I heard a fart, then a plop. I legitimately jumped after realizing what was happening, unlocked the door and ran. Never saw her again.